Well, this is clearly the house we'll get murdered in.
It's not as bad as our uni accommodation. That's the shape on the tree, I think.
This movie will do for the woods what Jaws did for the water. We are talking about The Ritual, directed by David Bruckner. Now, this one's actually based on a novel, and it tells the story of four friends as they decide to go for a hiking trip to Sweden. Now, why do they go there? It's actually because one of their other friends, this fifth guy, wanted to go there. It's kind of his kind of annual boys' trip selection, so to speak, but he was tragically killed in a random act of violence 6 months before this. So they go there to kind of honour their fallen friend. And while they are there, one of their members actually hurts his ankle, twists it, so they decide to maybe go for this shortcut through this dense forest. And whilst they're in this forest, there seems to be a malevolent presence there that is intent on causing them harm. So that's all I'm going to go with the plot here. We're not going to have any spoilers on this one. What do we think of The Ritual? This is a masterclass in fear and tension. It's a great horror thriller. Let's go into a little bit more detail. One thing I liked about this movie straight away is the real acting, I've got to say, from these kind of like this group of friends. I like the fact these guys are a little older than maybe your kind of traditional horror cast. These guys are probably in their 30s and 40s really. So I kind of like the fact you have a slightly older cast. And they really do seem like friends. They're kind of, even this kind of like this very short conversation that we have in the beginning, and there's 5 of them, and the interplay between the 5 of them, they seem like real people, and the kind of conversations that you'll have with your real friends. So that was all great. And though they're kind of ribbing each other all the time, it's very reminiscent of what people do in real friendships rather than kind of movie friendships, so to speak. So that was all good. And when we get to this kind of this forest, I mean, it doesn't take long, it doesn't hang around this movie. It really looks fantastic. The photography here, the location shooting is beautiful, and I've got to say, as soon as we kind of get into this presence, you have this, in this forest, you have this really kind of like ominous and kind of oppressing feeling through this movie. I mean, and that being said, I would say if you like your horror movies that are a bit of a romp, a bit of a kind of horror comedy, winking at the audience, this isn't that type of horror. It's a very kind of serious horror that really is, you know, like I've said, holds its kind of like best foot forward in regards to the kind of the creep factor and the you know, the kind of the real growing sense of tension and danger that is coming from this movie. I've got to say, most of the film takes place in the woods, so if you want lots of different locales and stuff, all you're going to see is pretty much lots of trees here. The acting is great. I thought the special effects were great. It really is a very, very well-made horror film, I would say. It was obviously not a mega budget movie, but nonetheless I thought they do a pretty good job here. It may frustrate some people that a lot of the stuff is kind of left to your imagination, and we do kind of get reveals at the end, but nonetheless a lot of the movie is kind of like what is you know, unseen, so to speak, and I've got to say, got a little bit frustrating, the kind of like the 4th or 5th time the camera kind of pans away and we don't see what's going on. But we do get the reveals at the end, and I've got to say, it's when it actually, so when you see what it is now, what's going on, it's something that will make Guillermo del Toro proud. Let me just say that. I've got to say though, once we do get the kind of reveals, I feel the sense of tension and kind of real horror does kind of peter away a little bit, but it's a very, very unique antagonist, I guess you would say. So I don't think you're disappointed. It's something you've never seen before, I pretty much guarantee you that. But really, it's a great movie. I mean, the acting here is great. The kind of the interplay between these sort of characters. I mean, there's the inevitable kind of infighting, but I guess that would really happen in these kind of situations. But we do have, like, you know, these are friends. They do try to kind of like move forward with their issues between each other. So that was all great. I mean, there was a little bit of CGI, but I feel it's fairly well done. To be honest with you, there's not really a lot I can tell you that is a real negative from this movie, other than the fact that, you know, like I've said, maybe I think the ending is good, but it kind of undercuts some of the kind of the tension that maybe you've seen early on in the film. And before we get the reveal, trust me, the kind of like the feeling of dread is really there, and it's very much like, I would say, Jaws meets the Blair Witch almost, and kind of with a sprinkling of kind of Evil Dead. If you like things like The Witch, I think you'll like this movie. I mean, it's a bit more overt with its horror, but really, really good movie. You know, without spoiling anything, I can't really tell you too more about it. Just go see it, because I think if you are pretty much any type of horror fan, you'll like it. It's a well-made film, it's a good story, well acted, great effects, and a fantastic location and a haunting score. There you go. I'll give this movie an 8 out of 10. Highly, highly recommended. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.